Hello and thank you for watching. I'm Ashley Van Dyke with Advantage Software, and on today's video, AutoBrief Request Briefs on Demand, I'm going to show you how you can get a brief anytime you want without waiting for the AutoBrief system to suggest one for you. This way, as soon as you strike a word or phrase that you know you're going to want a brief for, you can request one immediately, and you'll have one ready, instead of waiting for AutoBrief to generate one when you write that word or phrase the long way again. The first step to requesting briefs on demand is to set up the macros. These macros are automatically included within Eclipse and you should already have them. I'm going to go to my user settings, to the edit tab, and to the macros list. I'm going to scroll down to the A's in the macro, and you see that there are a series of 6 macros related to AutoBrief. AutoBrief 1 word RT to AutoBrief 6 words RT. The way that these macros work is you would strike the macro immediately after the word or phrase that you want a brief for. And so AutoBrief 1 word RT will give you a brief for the last word that you wrote. AutoBrief 2 words will give you a brief for the last 2 words that you wrote, and so on and so forth until AutoBrief 6 words, which will give you a brief for the last 6 words that you wrote. To assign a steno stroke to each of the macros, you can highlight the macro and click Edit, and then click the Dictionary Entry button. In the window that comes up, you can select the steno that you would like to use for each of the macros. I'm going to use a pattern of steno strokes for my macros. For AutoBrief 1 word, I'm going to use 1 RZ. For AutoBrief 2 word, I'm going to use 2 RZ, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to select my steno stroke and press OK. And I get a window similar to a global style window. And this is going to put the macro in my main dictionary. I do want to make sure this is going to my main, and I'll press OK. I can repeat the same for each of the other macros to make sure that they are all in my dictionary. I'm going to quickly repeat the same thing with the other macros. Okay, and now that I have assigned a steno stroke to each of those macros, I should be able to find those entries in my main dictionary. And you see that all of these entries are now in my dictionary and they're ready for use. So I'm going to go ahead and start a translation and show you how they work. I'm going to press Alt-T and I'm going to choose a virtual real-time translation. I'm going to push through some strokes into this real-time file to start getting some entries in. The first brief that I'm going to request is going to be for the word preceding. So the next stroke that I'm going to push through is going to be my 1 RZ stroke to get a brief for the word preceding. And you see that as soon as I hit 1 RZ, I did get a brief for the word preceding, and I can continue pushing strokes through, and I can use that brief in the future. And it is blue, which is the color of my requested briefs. I'm going to keep pushing strokes, and the next brief I'm going to request will be a 3-word brief for my name. And you see that I did get a brief just for my name here. And you see that in my note bar, I wrote 3 RZ for 3 words. Even though I wrote my name in more than 3 strokes, since the results were 3 words, I wrote my macro for a 3-word brief, and that's exactly what I got. The next brief is going to be for Advantage Software. And so next I'm going to hit 2 RZ, and you see that I immediately got a brief for Advantage Software. And I can immediately start using all of the briefs that are suggested, just like any other brief. The next one is going to be for High Meadows Parkway. And you see that I got a new brief for the 3-word entry High Meadows Parkway, and it's listed in my AutoBrief list now as well for use. And I'm going to use that new brief in the next sentence. So when I wrote High Meadows Parkway there, I used the brief that I requested. And so even though this was only the second time that this phrase was used, since I manually requested a brief in the previous sentence, I was immediately able to use the brief without waiting for High Meadows Parkway to be repeated in the testimony. So next I'm going to use the brief for proceeding. And you see that that one turned red since it has been used. And next I'm going to ask for a brief for a 6-word phrase, which is going to be for automatic number conversion and translation magic. So I'm going to push through the phrase that has automatic number conversion and translation magic. And next I'm going to hit 6RZ in order to get a brief for that phrase. And you see that I immediately got a brief for automatic number conversion and translation magic. And I can immediately use that brief. So no matter how long the word or phrase that you need to brief is, the macros that are built into Eclipse and available for use for all steno users are ready to go and will allow you to handle these circumstances manually when you'd like to, rather than have to wait for AutoBrief to automatically suggest any of these briefs after I wrote them multiple times. I was instead able to manually get a brief for anything that I knew I was going to want a brief for to use further in the proceedings. With these built-in macros, you're able to exercise even greater control over your AutoBrief features, and you can make sure that you always get briefs for the words or phrases that you need them for. The only thing to keep in mind is that the macros do apply to the words that have been written last in the document. So your macro for a 1-word brief is going to apply to the last word in the document, and your macro for a 2-word brief will apply to the last 2 words in the document, and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that you hit your brief request macro immediately after the word or phrase that you'd like briefed. Thank you so much for watching this video. As a reminder, if you have any questions, Advantage Software offers anytime support 24/7. Tech support can be reached with any question, anytime, including weekends and holidays, at 772-288-3266. Email support is also available at support@eclipsecat.com. Please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you'll be notified when we publish new content every week. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.